Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where we provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I feel like I'm coming to you from a version of The Shining as we come to you live, the United Kingdom news and culture. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. Let's welcome our team of experts, the star of our show, the lovely, the dynamic DIANN FLOYD BOEHM, joining us, we think, from Texas. Hello, DIANN. How are you?
That's correct, Texas. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you back in your beautiful studio there.
Thank you. It's great to be home.
It always is good to return home. Sometimes people say home is in the heart, but we really have a home if we're blessed and we go back there and get our roots get rerouted, right? Like a plant.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, thanks for taking the time to be here. We also have our expert correspondents joining us from the United Kingdom. Let's welcome HELENA, who is an expert on all things about the royal family. She's going to do her royal roundup. Welcome, HELENA.
Hi. Hello, everybody. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, shortly. Lovely to see you.
Great to see you, HELENA.
Lovely to see you also, HELENA. Thanks for being here. And also, as you mentioned, the gentleman of our group, and I think he's a very lucky guy, but we're lucky to have him too. It's Mr. Simon MacDonald joining us from Scotland. Hello.
Hello, everybody. Oh, it's nice to be back again. And yes, Dan, you've had 2 weeks in succession at home. My goodness. You'll be growing roots there next.
Miracles never cease.
And I have to say, you got your haircut since we saw you last. It looks very nice.
Thanks. 5 inches off for the summer.
Wow. I might be following suit. How do you feel? Do you feel lighter?
I do. The scale doesn't show it, though.
Why are you using a scale, DIANN? Come on. Forget it. Just throw it away.
I should, except then I'll just keep eating bread and butter.
Oh.
I'm holding on to what I've got.
Are you a bread lover?
I love bread. Absolutely. Nice warm biscuits with, and not cookies like they call it in England, but nice warm biscuits with tons of butter melting everywhere. Yummy.
Sounds really good. I'm so hungry right now. All right. Anyway, we've got a lot going on to talk about. As Helen and I just met briefly a little while back, and there's a lot of news that's going on, and we see it here in the States, Diane. I'm sure you see it there, Simon, as well. So we're going to go over to Helena first, and then we'll go over to Simon. But Helena, take it away, and then we'll come back with some comments and questions.
Thank you so much. I do hope you can hear me. It's a pretty, it's quite quiet, the sound, so I hope you can hear me. But yes, it's a very royal time. It's a very political time. There's so much going on. In fact, you know, there's D-Day celebrations as well, and the royal family have been in Portsmouth. King's given a tribute, which has been absolutely beautiful, to do with courage, resilience, and solidarity, and how we're also eternally grateful for the veterans that obviously 80 years ago fought for our world, really. So it's been really lovely. Prince William has been talking as well how the Princess of Wales would have loved to have joined them in Portsmouth today. And that he met so many different people, different women who were like Bletchley Park code breakers, so many different veterans. And one particular veteran that said that it was actually carnage on Juno Beach. And it's just simple little things. And it makes you think, wow, you know, we have to be so thankful. So many people lost their lives, but really, you know, for the good of all, which we're so, so thankful. But anyway, that's been happening today. I haven't actually been there, and I've just heard small reports, so I'm going to catch up on that a bit later on. But also so thrilled that King Charles is featured on new banknotes here in the UK. So his portrait is now out today. There we go. Different ones, £5, £10, £20, £50. And the Queen Elizabeth II, the original notes are still going to be in circulation because they've decided, you know, obviously not to spend too much money. And it's the notes that are a little bit dodgy, a little bit crinkly, that are going to be replaced, which I think that's a really, really good idea. So obviously banknotes have been used since the late 17th century, but royals, as in Queen Elizabeth, only featured on the notes. That was in 1960, and her portrait was on a £1 note. So King Charles is now the second royal, which is great. And it's still the same note, to be quite honest. They've just put his portrait on. So we have Churchill also on the £5 note, Jane Austen on the £10 note, Jem Turner on the 20, and Alan Turing on the £50 note. So excited to see that. And in fact, there's not that many in circulation. And although we can use the other notes, we can go to the Bank of England to change up, I think, up to £300 sterling in the new notes. Also, King Charles, lovely to see King Charles beaming away with David Beckham, and both of them bonding over bees, isn't that a lovely shot? Love that shot. David Beckham, the ex-England football captain, has been unveiled as a King's Foundation ambassador, and he absolutely loves the countryside. He's a real royalist as well. I mean, we'll all remember how long he waited when the late Queen passed in the queue. He waited all night. But really lovely that they bonded over bees. I think since he's had more time on his hands, he absolutely loves the countryside. And he's making his honey, and it's lovely that the family is so supportive as well of him. And so, being an ambassador, he had a private chat at Highgrove, in the Highgrove Gardens in Gloucestershire, which is like a retreat, and learned more about the work that the King's Foundation does. And he was absolutely inspired by everything going on, and really wants to support the foundation with the educational courses, and wants to put his effort into ensuring that young people get access to nature and being outside. So I'm like, here, that's brilliant. Really, really pleased. And again, I just love that unity. They've got a really great family. That support is fabulous. And moving on to Prince Andrew. So Prince Andrew, what do we do with Prince Andrew? Prince Andrew is reportedly refusing to leave his £30 million royal lodge. It's a absolutely spectacular mansion, I have to say. Windsor Great Park. There you can see all the land around it. But at the moment, and I feel actually very sorry for him, there is a sort of human side to this as well. But at the moment, it's almost like the siege of Royal Lodge. Although some works have started on Royal Lodge, it's alleged that Prince Andrew doesn't have the money to do all the works that's needed on the property. It needs thousands of pounds of work. He has lived there for 20 years. He does have a very strong lease, but obviously he has to maintain the property. And when we say maintain, really maintain. So if anything happens, a wall falls down or whatever, he has to even do building on the property. And there's thousands and thousands of pounds of work. But he's digging his heels in about it. There is word that he's obviously watching a lot of television in a dark room while his crumbling mansion is sort of crumbling around him. But, there's two ports of call, and I can see the thought process here, but he obviously, that's his place, and he doesn't want to let go of it. But actually, he'll almost become a prisoner in his own place. It's sort of a prisoner of his own pride, I think people are saying. And handing back the keys would actually afford him greater comfort, and his family will also be around him. As we know, King Charles controls the purse strings, and at the moment, the security for that place is humongous, and King Charles is paying that. He needs to move to Frogmore Cottage. That's what he's been offered. Obviously, that was Harry and Meghan's place. It's beautifully done up. There's nothing wrong with it. And it's a smaller place. Downsizing would be key. And I think being mindful of his well-being as well. I think sometimes trying to hang on to things which aren't quite right, it's not going to do him much good. And I could talk a lot about him because I think he just needs to concentrate on himself, and moving forward, he could do a lot of good. And I think at the minute he's sort of, overthinking things. But anyway, so that's that. I want to talk about Jeanette Charles. Now, Jeanette Charles, I have known for years and years and years. Unfortunately, she has just passed. She is, or was, should I say, a Queen Elizabeth impersonator. I don't know if anyone knows of her, but I worked hugely with her over the years. So she is a lookalike, I'd like to say impersonator, because obviously the voice and everything. She featured in Naked Gun, and also that great, what's his name, Nilsson, I think, the film, and also Austin Powers Goldmember. And she just was such a character. I could say loads of stories about her, and I was quite shocked to hear that she had passed. Same age, actually, as the late Queen Elizabeth, 96 years old. She had her children and grandchildren around her. She's the most famous impersonator in the world, and she actually started in 1971, and the most respected artist there is. And I was quite shocked, but thankful that she had everyone around her, which was great news. So wishing all her friends and family well, and obviously, goodness me, I would like to attend the funeral, and I will update everybody about that. King Charles, again, seeing him out and about, it's amazing, isn't he, that he's still going through his treatment, but he's, as the late Queen always said, you have to be seen to be believed. And there he is with Queen Camilla at the races, and that's at Epsom. And this was Ladies' Day, and there's a significant reason why they were there. And it was to do with a horse which the late Queen Elizabeth actually reared, called Treasure. And Treasure competed in it for a £550,000 win. Sadly, this Betfield Oak race wasn't the best for the horse, didn't win at all. In fact, I think it became second from last. But it was great that Ralph Beckett was there, who's the trainer, and they were talking about how enthusiastic they were about horses and going to the races and everything. It was a wet and soggy day, but they kept up the smiles, and it was a good day had by all. And I'm going to end on, and I always like to end on, in a way, I always find I do that, on something a little bit creative. And King Charles, as we know, he is a fabulous artist, a great painter. He's sold so many of his artworks, but this is something a little bit unique. So something that's just been sold. It's a miniature ceramic goat made by the king when he was at the University of Cambridge 55 years ago. And it's just been sold at auction. It went for 11,000, although I think the real price was probably 8,500 or something, because it went to a chap in America. Raymond Patten actually was given this by his great aunt, who was actually a cook, I think, at Cambridge, and he was given it on his 21st birthday. He's of an age now. He absolutely loves it, but he's decided, because it's obviously got historical value, he thought he'd sell it, and now someone else has it. And I think it is the mascot of the Welsh Guards, if I'm right. I'm not too sure. There's something key there. But I think it's very beautiful. I think it's lovely. It always astounds me how great he is at his with his artwork. Really, really good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was excellent. I want to let you know, I'm a huge fan of the Naked Gun series of shows, and I remember her on there. She was fantastic. She was so good.
She's actually, what you saw is exactly what she's like. She's an absolute royalist. Absolutely, beyond belief, loved Queen Elizabeth, and she was so respectful. She was cheeky, you know. She used to do some naughty things, but that was what was fun about her. But she just loved the late Queen Elizabeth, and it was wonderful to see her in action. So 96.
Wow, it's amazing. It's amazing. What do we think about this, by the way? This is a pretty impressive property.
It's so amazing. I mean, it's 30 rooms. It's huge. It's got a swimming pool. You know, it's great. I mean, that's all Windsor Park. The thing about this as well is that Frogmore Cottage is beautiful. And he would also have the same access to the grounds and still be able to horse ride and do the things that he loves. But, you know, mindful, I guess, of his well-being. I think, you know, it's all about communication, isn't it? You really need to speak. And it was interesting as well. Sarah Ferguson was talking about it, Duchess of York, and she was just saying that basically she's leaving the conversation to the brothers. You know, she's not getting involved because she lives there too, but she lives there as a guest. She's very thankful, but she doesn't want to get involved with their chat. But I'm sure, you know, it's all about talking. But you get it. You know, he's had to step down from public duty, and he's, you know, it's his sort of last thing he's hanging on to. But what do we do with a problem like Prince Andrew?
Well, it is an incredible property. It's funny because where the names go, it looks like, Helena, you're living there.
Yes.
It's getting close to World. And Simon and I are like, yeah, we're so far on the outside. We can't get an invitation.
I think there's something like 50 years left on the lease or something.
Do you expect me to downsize to that?
But, you know, all of us in life, we come to a point that we have to let go of where we might have lived, and we just have to cherish the memories. I mean, we're adding an elevator to our house just so we can stay here a little bit longer to prepare for an older age, and also let my siblings be able to get upstairs if they visit. But I feel sorry for Prince Andrew, but if you can't take care of a property, you can't take care of it. And it doesn't matter if you're a prince or not. We all have to come to that realization. And I'm not sure that somebody needs 30 rooms at that point in their life.
That's a lot. And to your point, Diane, you can easily see when you're driving through neighborhoods, you can tell where, you know, hard times have hit and the property's just falling apart. So I love the fact you're putting the elevator in. You're like such a great planner.
It has to do with taking care of family that couldn't make it up the stairs. So I don't want us to have to go through that. So
I was intrigued with the little goat, the miniature goat. I couldn't help but think.
Yes.
I couldn't help but think of Harry. The colouring, it's got a beard,
Oh,
and at the end of it, it's a goat.
that's
So,
amazing.
That's
I can
funny.
see it now, actually.
That's
Yeah.
funny. That goat is so cute.
Isn't
So
it
cute.
lovely?
It's
So good.
adorable. I
Can
love the
just,
colors he chose.
can I just say something as well? It was something that just sprung to my mind. That at Royal Lodge, that's obviously got lots of ground. And the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth, so that's the mother and father of the late Queen Elizabeth, and Elizabeth when she was younger with her sister Margaret. They all lived at Royal Lodge, and in fact, in the grounds in the garden, there's this wonderful. It's called Little Cottage, and it was given to the late Queen Elizabeth when she was 6 years old for her birthday, and it's literally a proper working cottage. It's sort of, I think it's something like 1/5 of the size, but absolutely spectacular and beautiful. And obviously, the grandchildren really enjoy it. There's so many memories and history to do with that particular property. So I sort of can see why you'd want to hang on to it. I mean, my thought is it would be it's so much history, actually. Why not make it, another tourism spot? Why not? And Prince
That's
Andrew
what I was going to ask.
Prince
Yeah.
Andrew could be there handing out the tickets, and he could even live there,
yeah,
Who
I mean,
knows?
at the end of the day, it's still in the family. So,
That's right.
So I
Right.
don't really see the problem. I think there's just a little bit of, this
Jealousy.
is my heritage. I want to be here.
Right.
And,
I think
I don't want to lose that because I've lost everything else sort of scenario.
yes, there's a little bit of ego.
Yeah.
Prince Andrew is quite entitled, and and I suppose when you've been somewhere for 20 years, it's your home, isn't it? It's his one comfort, I'd imagine, along with his family. So sort of get it. They need to talk.
They need to talk.
They need to talk.
Talking is everything.
Yes.
You know what I think is so interesting? I've seen this numerous times where people are giving up their big homes and they're either getting in a motorhome and traveling. One of our team members does that, Roland, where they live in a tiny home. They are homes that you can buy on Amazon and put them together. It's crazy, isn't it?
And
Yeah,
you can, if you're really clever or you have someone, the designer, you can. Sometimes it's not about the size; it's what you do with it, with the whole. Gosh, it sounds a little bit, but with
Sorry, Helena.
when you have built-in wardrobes, and you can make it absolutely stunning, and it can be amazing. And it's more to do with design. And you have something really huge, but has no space to store things, and it's all in the design.
Plus, it's a lot to clean. No, seriously. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Well, thank you for that royal roundup, and let us just say a proper farewell.
Yes, I know. I was so surprised. I just, and Camilla Tomney, who's a fellow journalist, royal journalist, and she'd mentioned about Jeanette Charles and had worked with her as well quite a bit. But such a funny lady, and actually she's going to be really, really sorely missed because so funny, so full of mischief, and that's why I think I loved her really. I was actually an agent to her, so I mean, in a funny way, it wasn't the best because as an agent, you have to sort of oversee all the foibles. But taking that aside, it's fun, isn't it, to have people that are naughty sometimes?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Oh,
And she could get away with it too.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, she did get away with it.
Well, there'll probably be an upsurge of people watching the Naked Gun series. So,
I remember her going down the chute or something.
Yeah.
Down the chute, right?
But she had the royal wave, and she was like,
Absolutely. Oh,
she was. I think wasn't she throwing out the first ball, or was Leslie Nielsen? I forget, but classic.
Remember that down?
Classic.
So funny.
We too don't know what we're talking about, but anyway, really funny movies. For a good laugh. So, well, thank you for that royal roundup, Helena. It was wonderful. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you. And also, we'll be thinking of Prince William tomorrow is going to be in Normandy on the beaches with lots of heads of states, and it's going to be a big fanfare. So, we'll be thinking of everybody then as well. Thank you, and we'll see you next week. Lots of love.
See you next week,
Bye, everybody.
Well, that was certainly interesting. And I know, Simon, you've got a fabulous presentation for us. Diane, anything you want to say before we go to the presentation?
No, that was just also interesting. When I was 6, I got a dollhouse. I didn't get a cottage.
Oh,
Darn.
dollhouses are pretty interesting. I just saw one the other day. I haven't seen a dollhouse in a long time, but there's a lot of room for creativity.
Yes, I built 2 dollhouses, one for each one of my daughters, with the wallpaper, matching the wallpaper in our home, and they had
Oh,
a blast with it.
where
Yeah.
are they now?
Well, first we were saving them, but then we decided there was some girls who didn't have anything, and we gave it to them.
Oh, that was so
That's
nice.
nice.
That's the
So
legacy
sweet.
lives on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to go over to Simon and hear your presentation. Then Diane and I will be back.
Oh, there we go. Well, Scotland this week has been, again, and the UK has been full of politics. We've got the election coming up. The other night we had the Scottish First Minister, going head to head with the other parties in Scotland. So it was an interesting bun fight, and I'm glad I'm not that deeply into it. I've got so many other things going on just now, so I was getting a rest from that side. So today I'm looking a little bit further northwest from where I am today, and I'm looking at Ilendonnan Castle. And Ilendonnan Castle, it's just one of the most beautiful castles in Scotland. It's probably the most photographed of the fortresses in the whole of Scotland. And it's been featured in many movies, including James Bond a couple of times, as well as the Scottish headquarters of MI6, no less. So the castle itself, it guards a small island right deep in the Scottish West Highlands at the intersection of 3 tidal lochs. An arched grey stone bridge connects the castle with the mainland, and hundreds of thousands of tourists literally stream across this bridge every year to explore this beautiful and misunderstood fortress as well. Well, Ilendonnan isn't really an authentic medieval castle, although it looks it. That virtually everything you see today was actually built in the 1920s and 30s. It's in a mock medieval style, but very accurately done. Nonetheless, there's actually been a castle on this tiny island since way back in the 1200s. The modern castle was built on an enigmatic pile of ruins, in fact. So Ilendonnan unexcitedly means the Isle of Donnan. Donnan was a Celtic saint, martyred in about 617, and it's said that his followers once built a church on the island. More prosaically, a castle was probably founded here in the 1200s, as it was in a fine position to defend the lands of Kintyll from the Viking invaders. Back in those times, ships battled on the oceans and lochs, and Kintyll was actually part of the Sea Kingdom and an ideal location for it too. The Isle of Donnan guarded the passageway to Loch Long and Loch Duich and the lands beyond it. It was in an enviable position, and so the very first castle was founded to guard these waters from the seafaring Vikings. Old Highland legend says that a baby who takes his first drink from a raven's skull will be blessed with strange powers. There was a clan chieftain in Kintyll who gave his son Seamus such a sip. Well, for a long time, Seamus seemed to be a normal, happy child. Then one day his father found his son seated beneath a tree, talking to the birds within their own strange language. His father was horrified and forced Seamus to hide his strange talent. And that was until one night when they ate in the smoky hall of their ancestral home. And the birds on the beams above made a terrible noise. Out of curiosity, Seamus' father said, "Tell me, son, what do they speak about?" So Seamus replied, "Father, you'll not like my answer. They say that one day in this very hall our positions will change, and you'll be serving me, Seamus, father." So, terrified with this strange prophecy and his son's unnatural skill, he banished his son from the hall and told him never to return. And so Seamus had to make his way in the world. He travelled from France to Spain, England to Ireland. Everywhere he went, he used his strange skills to command the birds around him, to do his bidding. He became a hero of war, as birds passed him secrets from the enemy lines. Well, many years later, a rich man sailed up to the clan house of the chieftain of Kintail. Seamus' father was still chieftain and was now an old man. Out of hospitality, the old man brought his rich guest a drink. Pulling back his hood, Seamus said, "Father, it is I, your son. I come back to make amends, and the prophecy is now complete." So delighted to be reacquainted with his son, his father cried with joy, and the return of this legendary warrior spread around Scotland until it reached the king. Well, owing to his wealth and his magic talents, the king made him guardian of the island of Ilendonnan, and this is where Seamus founded the castle that's rebuilt today. All the evidence we have says that the medieval Ilendonnan castle was much larger than the fortress is today. A tall stone keep with a base of about 40 feet by 40 feet was built on tall rock at the highest. Lost my picture there. At the highest point of the island. So a thick curtain wall encircled the lower part of the isle, with a sea gate for access. One old source says that Ilendonnan Castle may once have been as many as 7 towers, but we don't know for sure. But it seems like the main keep was transformed into a tower house, which is a fortified residence basically, and that was done in the 1300s. Some say that Robert the Bruce hid out there during the winter of 1306. Now you'll remember from the other week when we talked about Robert the Bruce and how Robert hid in the cave and the spider came down on a horrific night and it was swinging back and forwards trying to weave its web. And, and this is where Robert the Bruce got the saying of, if at first you can't succeed, then try and try again. During the 15th century, the castle contracted in size to become one compact fortified tower, poised to defend itself from any seaborne threat. Well, the reason we know so little about medieval Ilendonnan Castle is because the fortress was actually blown to bits in 1719. The castle was involved in the Jacobite risings, which are a series of rebellions and battles aiming to restore the last Catholic monarch, the then exiled James II, to power. And again, I talked about this, the Jacobite risings, in several of the talks over the last few weeks. In fact, the Scottish Highlands were a hotbed of rebellion. In 1715, Spain sent troops to support the Jacobite cause. And to simplify things slightly, Spain was battling Britain and France in war in Europe. And this was a good way to destabilize the Brits in their own backyard. So 300 Spanish soldiers were sent to Loch Duich, and 46 garrisoned Ilendonnan. When the British got wind of it, the Navy sent up 3 tall ships to prevent an insurrection. On arriving at Ilendonnan Castle, the HMS Worcester, the Enterprise, and the Flamborough attempted to negotiate a truce. But however, it's said that the Spanish soldiers fired first, and as a result, the castle was bombarded for about 2 days, a testament to the thickness of the walls. When the Spanish garrison at last gave up, the men were taken prisoner elsewhere in Scotland. And to prevent the same thing from happening again, the Royal Navy used many of the 343 barrels of gunpowder which were stored in Ilendonnan Castle to blow up the remaining walls and destroy the fortress for good. Or so they thought. So for the next 193 years, the ruins of Ilendonnan Castle were forgotten, and they were left to crumble and decay. Then in 1912, the fabulously named Major John McCrae Gilstrap, who was born in 1861, bought the ruined castle for £2,500, which is about, $3,000? Like so many more men before him, Major McCrae Gilstrap had dreams of greatness and wanted to build the castle to prove his worth. It seems the Major thought that owning a castle would help him claim the ancestral title of Constable of Ilendonnan. But with this plan in mind, he set about rebuilding an idealized version of Ilendonnan Castle, loosely based on the decaying ruins. So after drawing up all manner of fantastic plans, they started to build the castle after World War I ended. It's worth emphasizing that Major McCrae Gilstrap had designed the castle to look beautiful, and his aim wasn't to create a faithful reconstruction of the medieval fortress. Indeed, the Chief of Works said to have based the designs upon a dream that he had of what the restored castle might look like, although they rebuilt the modern Donna on the footprint of the medieval castle, they added and exaggerated lots of features, and these included the delicate machyolinations and some of the spindly teetering towers and the grand entranceway. It took 20 years for the castle to be completed, and it wasn't open to the public until 1955. Well, tens of thousands of people visit Ilendonnan each year, so you can embark on a guided tour of the castle. Inside the castle, you might be impressed at all the modern amenities. From the word go, the castle was hooked up to the electric lighting, even had a complete central heating system. The rooms of the castle are full of mock medieval grandeur. The billeting room has a fantastic barrel-vaulted ceiling made from stone. The banqueting hall has a grand ceiling made from the finest Douglas fir, and even has a series of secret spy holes built into the building. Above the door of the castle, you'll see the most important element of all, and the reason Ilendonnan was rebuilt in the first place, and that's the coat of arms of Major Macrae Gilstrap. By rebuilding Ilendonnan, nowadays one of the most visited castles in the whole of Scotland, he undoubtedly made an enduring name for himself. And there we have Ilendonnan Castle, and a lot of history and a lot of mystery as well. Talking to the birds, using the birds to relay all the information from enemy lines, make his fortune. Is it mystery? Is it history? Is it myth? Is it legend?
Fascinating.
Never know, but I love the connection to James Bond.
Yes, it appears. I think there's actually 3 Bond movies that it appears in, and
Wow.
certainly under what's his name, Daniel Craig's residency of being Mr. Bond. Then that was one of the ones I do recall seeing at the interior of Ilendonnan Castle and the exterior as well. But it's been used in so many movies. I mean, I couldn't even start to name them all.
It's understandable. Are you both James Bond fans?
Yes, guilty as charged.
Diane?
I like some of the same James Bonds, but not some of the recent ones.
So some of the more recent ones, I think, the plot tends to be a bit obscure, and the last one, I just haven't worked that one out at all.
Yeah.
A lot of it I do, sort of, I recognise such and such a place that's used in the scene. I mean, like the Skyfall, the gates,
Skyfall is great.
the deer sitting on top of the gates. That's modelled on a place just up the road here, about a mile up the road from where I am.
Wow.
And when they were passing through Glencoe, I remember when they were filming it, and they had Glencoe in the tourist season at the height of was blocked off for trouble traffic, and so there were a lot of angry people wanting to get to and from Fort William, in particular service vehicles, and they couldn't because Mr. Bond was taking up the road with his Aston Martin. So yes.
Is Aston Martin. It's a rough life.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough one.
Yeah. For civil servant,
has anyone tried to make their baby drink this so they can have these magical powers today?
Well, I haven't tried it personally. Drinking out of a bird's skull is it's a bit beyond it for me.
Not yet. Let's put it like that.
Not yet. No, I haven't had the reason to. I'll maybe try and think of something.
Something else, yeah, for sure. Well, we're coming to the end of our program. I know we have On This Day. Is that right, Simon?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Yes. Well, on this day, in 1920, the origins of the Bank of America. It was when the first rivet was driven onto the Bank of Italy headquarters at No. 1 Powell in San Francisco, later to become the Bank of America. In 1944, of course, we're all hearing all about the D-Day, not celebrations, remembrance that's going on. So in 1944, on this day, after receiving favourable weather reports, finally, General Eisenhower gave the order to proceed with the D-Day invasion on, tomorrow, the 6th of June. Then in 1968, Palestinian Sirhan assassinates Robert F. Kennedy, shooting him 3 times, wounding 5 others at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. Kennedy died the next day. For birthdays, or the birthday, yes, we've got Kathleen Kennedy, the American movie producer of E.T., Extraterrestrial, and Jurassic Park, was born in Berkeley, California, and she is 70 years old today. Happy birthday, Kathleen. For the death, we've got in 2004, Ronald Reagan, 40th US President of the Republican Party and famous actor, of course, dies at the age of 93. I could actually probably clip in another on this day one as well. For those of us who are at the age where we remember Noddy and Big Ears, then Enid Blyton first presented the tales of Noddy in a sort of slightly sort of filmish format, and that was 1949. Just remembered that one. So there we have it.
So there we have it.
We have it. Thank you so much, Simon. That was fabulous. Diane, anything you want to share about on this day or anything else?
No, I'm always so excited to hear what Simon brings us. It's so interesting, and the people that you remind us of. And I was sad to be reminded again of Bobby Kennedy. I remember being a little girl and being really sad about that because of his brother too.
Well, that's it. I mean, there's there's been a book written about the curse of the Kennedys, and it seems to be a family that's just been absolutely dogged with misfortune. So I'm very glad I'm a MacDonald.
Wearing that name proudly. Fantastic.
Wearing that name proudly.
Definitely, yes.
Well, what do you each have going on? Anything you want to share with our audience before we close out? Simon?
Well, I'm just having a very, very busy time just now. I've got a lot of projects on the go in Kenya, Zambia, Angola, Switzerland, England, and I've just been invited to go to Oman to teach them about and talk to them about aquaculture and to improve the fisheries as well. So that's exciting times. I'm really, really excited about this one. So we've got another big meeting with them online tomorrow with their fisheries minister, and just firming up the date. So it'll be sometime in July, but I'll try not to let it interfere with a Wednesday for the show. I'll take my laptop with me, and if you see me looking really suntanned, then you know where I am.
Reporting live from the field. We love it.
You're going to love Oman. It's beautiful.
Yeah, well, I mean, so many people have told me that it is just quite an extraordinary place, and I've had quite a lot of online calls with them, and they're very, very nice people.
Beautiful, beautiful people.
So, and all the protocols they've got going with it, I love it. These sort of things matter. The detail, these things really do matter.
Yeah, you and Sinbad the Sailor, man.
yes. Which brings me on to my quote for the day, that you only live once, but if you do it right, once is enough.
I love it. That's great.
Good words to live by.
Which makes me think of Mr. Bond, you only live twice. He obviously didn't get it right the first time around.
You're so witty.
Does a cat have 7 lives or 9 lives? 9.
9 lives.
9 lives.
9. Yes, I know one over here that's maybe only got one left, if that.
On notice, Kitty. Yeah. Diane, what about you? What do you have going on?
I'm getting in the writing mode again. Inspiration's coming about, and I'm doing embroidery when the sun gets too hot outside.
Very good. Designing the elevator. I love it.
And designing the elevator. That's right.
You wouldn't get much done here. Plenty of time for writing, but you wouldn't get much time to do the embroidery of it. You're only doing it on a sunny day. Mind you, actually, I mustn't demise the weather here. It's been pretty good, apart from the big hailstorm we had this morning and the fresh snow in the hills today. But apart from that, we're fine.
That is such an interesting summer.
I mean, 4 seasons this morning. It was great.
Yeah. You don't have to go anywhere to travel. You have everything right there. So.
Right. All the seasons in one. Oh, my goodness. And I just want to say thanks to anyone who's listening, whose family members were involved in D-Day. Thank you. Everybody in the world today would not have the life and the freedom we have today if it wasn't for them.
there were some remarkable battles at that time. And I mean, what our people had to endure through that was unbelievable. My father missed D-Day. He was one of the ones that was called the D-Day Dodgers. He was at the Battle of Cassino instead. But the Battle of Cassino, there were 55,000 Allied soldiers killed at the Battle of Cassino, which is the highest death toll of Allied soldiers in one battle for both First and Second World Wars. It was a huge death toll, and it was a tough time. I've got all these notes from and his diary that he kept during the conflict. It's quite harrowing reading at times.
I just, when are we going to learn? When are we going to learn?
Quite. And you look at the state of the world just now. I mean,
yes.
Israel and Palestine, and there's just so many things going on in Russia and Ukraine, and everybody else is getting very nervous and so on. And in America, you've got Donald Trump and Joe Biden. It's a scenario going on there. We've got our political scenario going on here. Everything seems to be up in the air and very unstable at the moment. So, but let's just hope we don't have to go through what we went through 1914 to 18 and 1939 to 45. Twice is enough.
Amen.
Let's just encourage people to have an open heart and to really be listening and not judging, because I really think that's where we just get so closed off and don't hear or appreciate what someone else says, because it's not what we think or what we're saying.
That is so true. So everybody sign up for Dr. JACALYN's classes on how to be a good listener.
Yes, there we go. Yes, we'll put the world to rights between us all.
I tell you, they were the best classes I've ever taken. I thought I was a great listener. And then I took your classes, Dr. JACALYN, and I'm truly an elevated listener. And the other thing that I learned to do was learn not to say something, that person needed to be the person to close things out, not do one on each other.
Yes.
Right. We don't have to one-up each other and have the last word. People think it's really important to be the last one to talk, but.
Yeah. And so let me say, I'm just saying.
Let me just say we have to close off because our next show is coming. Anne Scotland's podcast Maestro show. It's called Launch It, followed by the Royally Rich Lifestyle Show. And starting today, we're going to have breaking news coming from London. So we'll have a segment a day. So stay tuned for that. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Helena. And thank you, everybody who's watching or listening. We really do appreciate you. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, which is USA Global TV and Radio. Download our app on Roku worldwide, also on Amazon Fire. And we're now on Zizzle TV as well. See you later. See you next week. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
The last few days have been really amazing. I had a trainer course from the British School of Etiquette.
And I must say it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made and one of the best investments I've made in my own training and development.
Now, words alone will not describe the transformation and the positive path that I have traveled with the British School of Etiquette.
I find I learned a lot from the lessons this time I came.
The last few days with the British School of Etiquette have been fantastic.
And what I've learned now is really beyond my expectations.
This is the most rewarding experience and the best investment I have made this year.
It was just great. I learned so much, and when I go back to Belgium I will incorporate a lot of it into my day-to-day life and business.
It's been absolutely wonderful for the whole week that we were here.
I feel transformed, and I feel like blowing a trumpet and tell people, come and do this school. This class is the best. This is the best school ever.
You should take it. It will change your life immediately.
I am now able to teach other people how to bring the best of them.
Thank you.
Thank you, BSC.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.